Video is going to be on how the discovery process is really a purpose to eliminate and weaken objections before the close. Okay. So, meaning that if you go back and let's say if you had all your previous calls recorded, you could probably look at the objections you're getting and then relate them back to what you missed in discovery. So if you're getting a lot of like, I need to think about it, I want to do this next year, I feel like I'm too busy right now, it's probably because you were missing urgency based questions in your discovery. If you're getting, I don't want to pay a fee for this money, or your fees are too high, it's probably because you were missing things as far as building the gap goes, as you always hear people talk about. If it's, I'm going to do it myself, it's because you didn't ask questions about that, about the pros and cons of them doing it themselves. If you get a random partner objection, wife, husband, business partner, whatever, it's because you didn't understand how that decision making process happens and then try to navigate it based on that. Okay. So this is the normal discovery process. And I'm going to go through it and explain what I was just talking about, how it ties into objections, right? So what we want to do in any discovery is start the conversation based on what are they looking for clarity on? How are they planning around that now? Do they like that approach? What do they like? What do they maybe not like? Is there anything they would change if they could? And how long have they been doing it that way? Those are just pretty logical questions. What they're going to set us up to do is build some urgency. So, for example, I've been working, I'm looking for clarity on tax efficiency. Right now, I'm working with an advisor. We don't necessarily have a plan, but he manages my investments. I like the advisor. It's going good. If I could change anything, I'd want a little more clarity and a little more planning. I've been with that advisor doing it this way for 10 years. So that's the conversation so far. Now I'm going to ask a question. It has to be contextualized and tailored to what they're saying. But now I'm going to ask something like, so, I guess after working with that advisor for like 10 years, what's really like shifting for you that's causing you to look into additional strategies now? Right? And then they're going to start justifying, well, I don't feel clear enough here. Or we want to retire sooner rather than later. And I feel like we're just going to delay it forever if we just never plan. Right? Like whatever. That's where we get some urgency. So then once they start saying why this issue needs to be solved now, I might want to probe into that. What do you mean? Why is that so important? Why is it actually important now, though? Now they're going to justify why they need to do it now. And they're not going to tell me at the end of the call that let's circle back in 6 months. Right? And then I've got my urgency. That's step one. Now I'm going to start building the gap that you always hear everyone talk about, where they are now versus where they want to be. Right? All it is you're ultimately getting to, you usually get a problem out of this section, right? What don't you like? What's shifted for you to cause you to look into other stuff now or take it more seriously now? You're going to get a problem, and then you're trying to get that problem to impact. So you have a situation, you have a problem, and the impact right in a row. So if I get to the problem, I need to understand what are the actual impacts of such problem. So it could be, let's say someone's working with this advisor, they've been with them for 10 years and they do good on the investments, but there's not much planning. I would ask like, okay, so, without a plan, like why is that actually so important? Like, what do you think could happen if you didn't have a plan? And they might go, well, I could make a lot of mistakes. I'd be like what? What have in mind? Well, I could overpay in taxes. And okay, if you're overpaying taxes, like how would that actually change your retirement? Well, it would cut this and this out of our lifestyle. And okay, and would you be like okay with that, or how would that make you feel? Right? So I've gotten like multiple orders of impact deep from their situation. That is the goal. It doesn't matter what we're selling. I oftentimes encourage advisors to pretend you're selling something else. Sell a car, sell Wi-Fi, sell vehicle insurance, sell a set of knives. And practice getting from someone's situation, what needs to change, why they want to change it now, to what happens if they don't change. Okay, so that's the first part of the gap. That's where they are now. It's not just about analyzing their situation. It's about taking that where they are now to a problem and impact. So that's like the far side of the gap, the impact, right? Now we want to go into where they want to be. the other side of the gap. So besides more ones and zeros, what do you really want retirement to look like? What's important to you? Who's going to be there? Where are you guys going to go? When are you going to do it? How would that feel? Etc. So I want to contrast what could happen if nothing changes versus in an ideal world, what could happen if things do change, right? And then so that's my gap. That's where they justify why they should pay me a fee, is to help them avoid the impacts and ultimately accomplish what they want retirement to look like besides more ones and zeros. This also ties into the risk, right? That's probably the biggest objection they just don't tell you, is that they don't trust you. They're scared. There's a lot of risk in giving you their money to manage. But when you view their current situation as already extremely risky, then you become less risky because you have better solutions, right? So you're handling the money, you're justifying why they should pay you a fee, or they are, based on your questions. You're also getting at making the current situation feel a lot riskier than possibly going with you. After that, we're going to handle the do-it-yourself objection. So they've painted this beautiful picture of what they want retirement to look like. And then we're going to say, okay, well, that's awesome. I guess, like, why not kind of just like manage all this stuff on your own? Like, what's caused you to go with an advisor? And they're going to justify why they don't want to do it on their own. And then that's out of the way. Now we're going to handle the partner and get some commitment and take the next step, which is probably either gathering some financial statements or not, and scheduling that planning call, right? So what we would ask is, right now, like, working with that advisor, I know he manages your investments, but there's no plan. Do you feel like that's actually maximizing your retirement, like doing everything in your power to put you guys in the best position, or how do you feel? Answer is obviously no, because they don't have a plan and they know they should need one. So then we would say, and are you like okay with that? And they're going to say no. Right? So, well, why not? Like, a lot of people don't plan this stuff out anyway, so why not? And then they're going to justify why they need to make change again, right? And then we're going to go, okay, and like this, and this isn't a rude question. It's not to like slap them in the face. It's a qualifying question. And who's ultimately like responsible for handling your finances? Is it just you? Is it your wife? How does that work? And they're going to say, it's on me, or it's 50-50, or it's 80-20, whatever. That's an important piece of the conversation, because now I know that, okay, well, if it's 50-50, then the wife needs to be on the next call, or the husband needs to be on the next call. If it's 80-20, maybe not, right? But because it's really hard to like handle a partner objection after you've met with someone 3 times and they want to talk to their wife. They probably should. We're talking about transferring their life savings over to you. So probably they should, which is why it's important for us to get the partner involved in this stuff early and empower them to maybe even drag their partner along, because it's so important, even if the partner doesn't understand the importance of financial planning. Get the partner on the next call. And then somewhat at the end, I kind of like to go back to urgency. So it's like, whether it's them or whether it's them and the partner, it's like, okay, so next steps, let's book a call with you and your wife. Do you guys like really feel like it's time to like draw this line in the sand and make sure this happens properly? And they're like, yes. We're like, all right, let's do it. And then you set up the call. So hopefully that helps. I'll just explain this little thing here: consequence linking versus benefit linking. It's part of the gap, right? So a consequence link, what a lot of advisors are good at saying, like, getting like a surface level consequence. For example, like, okay, well, what happens if like you do your withdrawals wrong? And they're like, I overpay in taxes. So you've gotten like a financial problem, somewhat of an impact, right? But those are just numbers. No one cares. How does that impact them? What does that change if they overpay in taxes? Like, maybe we throw out an example. What does that actually change as far as their day-to-day life in retirement, if that's what we're discussing? And how would that actually feel? Right? And then benefit linking is just the inverse of that. It's like, every advisor is great at asking, like, okay, so what do you want to really figure out financially? And they're like, tax efficiency. And then you're like, oh, Okay, awesome. And that's like your goal section of your discovery. What you're looking for is like, okay, so what are you trying to figure out ideally here? And they're like tax efficiency. And you're like, and what kind of like tax efficiency when you say that, what do you mean? And they're like, well, I want to do this, this, and this, right? I'm like, okay, and what kind of impact do you feel like that would actually have? And they're like, well, it would save me an extra 300 grand. That's like, and man, you got an extra 300 grand. What are you gonna do with that? Oh, we travel, buy another vehicle, upgrade the house, whatever. Yeah, how would that feel? Now I'm a lot deeper than just saying I want to be tax efficient. Okay. Hopefully that helps, guys. I'm going to post this in the school, possibly on YouTube. And yeah, let me know if you got any questions.